I think that we've got a very exciting programme here because most people, I think most of my colleagues, know very little about stoma and how with modern medicine has made leaps and bounds in supporting people who need to have a stoma, and it's now something that's an everyday occurrence, and people of all ages and all walks of life have a stoma. So we need to be aware of that and make sure that we are meeting their needs just as we're meeting other people's particular needs. And we need to be thinking holistically about how we respect difference and ensure that everybody is included.
You're certainly not alone. There's an estimated 10,000 stoma patients in Wales, and that's not mentioning those that visit and come here on holiday on a regular basis. We're delighted to be working with an action group consisting of people across South Wales, created specifically to drive understanding and educating society on challenges faced by when living with invisible illnesses. Together we're asking for some changes to be made, including new signages to be used in public toilets. It is hoped the signage would replace the current use of the figure in a wheelchair to reflect the broad range of reasons why someone would need to use a proper, large, accessible toilet. And we're having some extremely positive discussions with both the Welsh Government and Cardiff Council about our plans for change and a way forward. In short, we're excited about the challenges ahead.
My name's Amber, I'm 22 years old and I'm a pretty busy bee. I'm a student, I work, I do social media, I recently ran the half, I've done a skydive, I socialise, I travel, amongst many other things. We're in a bar with a group of friends, having a couple of drinks, a laugh and a generally nice time. I've been back and forth to the toilet a few times now, and I won't lie, I'm getting rather frustrated with my body. My boyfriend comes with me to help where needed. Somebody keeps trying to open the door, making a stressful and difficult task tenfold worse. When everything's eventually sorted and we leave the accessible toilet, we both get grabbed and pulled in separate directions, accused, shouted at and threatened. Having finally been given an opportunity to explain myself, I have IBD, an invisible disability and a permanent stoma. No, not enough. I had no choice but to explain again, this time more graphically, in hope of some acceptance and understanding. I've had my bowel removed and part of it pulled through the wall of my stomach. Here is where my poo comes out of, in which I have no control over. I have to wear an appliance to collect my waste, but at times the appliance just doesn't play ball, and I'm faced with the trauma that is leaking. Your facilities are pretty awful, and I had poo leaking everywhere. If I were in a wheelchair or had a visible impairment with, let's say, a middle-aged female carer, would I have received this reception? I used my voice and spoke up about the matter, only to receive hundreds of messages of people in similar scenarios who have faced and continue to face similar discrimination of varying sorts. Disability and its needs comes in varying shapes and forms, and it's saddening that in this day and age we cannot see beyond the obvious.
If you saw me go in or come out of a disabled toilet, what would your first reaction be? And by the way, that photo was shown on Loose Women last year. Very proud of that one. Now, after seeing the picture, and you see me go into a toilet, disabled toilet, or coming out, has your thinking changed? Every day, I wear a colostomy bag to collect waste. I therefore require the space and the additional facilities in a disabled toilet in order to change my bag. On occasions, I have used a normal toilet cubicle. That is admittedly not impossible, but believe me, it is certainly extremely difficult. Our aim is to simply educate the public and change attitudes. Hidden disabilities are just that. They are hidden. We want to open your eyes to the thousands of people that go through this every single day.
My name is Rachel and I am here on behalf of my son Jake. So Jake and myself was born with a genetic disorder called Hirschsprung's disease. So at 4 weeks old, Jake had a stoma, all his large bowel removed, part of his small. So when we took him home, and he's my first, faced with this newborn who has this disability, and when you're going out and about, it's not as easy as you would expect. When we're going into a disabled toilet, I think some people may think I'm going in there because I've got loads of bags with my baby stuff in and my buggy. It's almost like you can feel the eyes burning in the back of your head. I've even heard some tuts. I've seen people staring like everyone here has. As a parent, it worries me about the society we're in today, where people are judgmental, and I don't want that for my son, and that's why I try and do things like this to bring awareness. And it wasn't until Jake was 2 that I found out about disability living allowance. It wasn't until he was 2 I found out about hygiene waste collection. It wasn't until he was 2 that I found out about carers allowance. All these things that as a mum, he's got a dad as well, I didn't do it all by myself, not Mary, that I found out about all this stuff. When we brought Jake home, our household waste doubled overnight with the amount of stuff you use to care for your stoma. With a little baby, it's not as easy. We would go through 6 to 10 changes of the whole stoma and the base a day. So imagine that times 7, times 4, you do the math, it's colossal. I live in Newport, so I'm lucky in that I do benefit from hygiene waste collection. But it took 2 years for me to even find out about it. That's mad, that's not okay. I'm aware that some people here don't have the access to that. Why is that? Who has that answer? I'd love to know.
I've not let the stoma hinder my life. My wife and I have travelled to Sri Lanka, Thailand, Far East, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, as well as most of Europe. We always split my luggage, ostomy supplies and luggage, between hold requirements and baggage, because we have actually had all my supplies lost in the past, which is a total disaster. Without, in some countries, new supplies are almost unobtainable. Until about 5 years ago, I also did yacht deliveries, picking up a yacht in the Mediterranean and then travelling, bringing it back to a marina in Wales. This was quite enjoyable, but you can imagine how difficult it is to change a bag at sea in a force 9 gale. It's actually worse, though, in an aircraft toilet. It's almost impossible in there, as you can imagine. The larger areas inside disabled toilets, therefore very necessary, as is a water supply. In an ordinary toilet, you do not get a water supply, and you need to have clean water that you can wash down. My wife, who also has a non-visible disability, has also had adverse comments about jumping the queue, both in toilets and indeed in disabled changing rooms in shops.
Whilst my stoma saved my life, living with a stoma is both physically and emotionally challenging. My stoma nurse advised that I could obtain a radar key which would allow me access to a network of toilets for the disabled, in order that, when I was out and about, I could use the facilities to change my pouch if needed. My first big outing was for my birthday in December 2010, when my wife, son and I came to Cardiff. I was comforted by the fact that there would be disabled toilets readily available. However, it soon became apparent that suitable toilets for the disabled are not provided as the norm, for instance in pubs and restaurants. As a result, I began to choose where I had an outing to ensure that I could access suitable disabled facilities. While some toilet cubicles can be in a poor state, with no proper seat, no door lock, no toilet paper, and no bins for disposal of a sealed waste bag, I have learned to cope. As I've stated, provision for suitable toilets for the disabled is not as widespread as you would imagine, and in 2013, these types of public facilities in my local area was diminished, as the Borough Council, for financial reasons, closed all the public toilets throughout the borough. Since then, 3 facilities have been reopened by volunteer groups. In my town of Blaenau, the public toilets remain closed. The council has produced a local toilet strategy in May 2019, but the interim progress report is not expected until November 21. Whilst public toilet facilities may not be widespread throughout Blaenau Gwent, the authority does provide a very good weekly nappy and hygiene collection service.
I may not look like the typical disabled person, but I have what's called a hidden disability, and it is just that, hidden. I was diagnosed with Crohn's at the age of 12 after months of feeling unwell. I spent the next year trying different treatments and procedures which were all unsuccessful. Then I was told that this disease was getting far too aggressive and that I needed to have an ostomy. Little did I know that it would be the hardest transition, mentally and physically. It's hard enough trying to be normal in a world that revolves around the usual beauty standards. It's hard enough trying to fit in and act normal. and it's even harder when people give you dirty looks or confront you when leaving a disabled toilet. I've heard so many horror stories of ostomates getting confronted when leaving a disabled toilet. As an ostomate, it saddens me to think that the general public can be so cruel and uneducated about the different disabilities. These stories that I hear on a daily basis have terrified me and caused me to never use a disabled toilet again. I now use a public toilet, which causes me major anxiety. When I'm in the cubicle doing my thing, I'm always aware of people around me, and if I hear just one person in that toilet, I immediately abort mission and leave. Don't get me wrong, I'm one of those people that wear my bag loud and proud, but sometimes, especially on the bad days, you don't want to have to explain the situation to others. You shouldn't have to. Using a disabled toilet is my right, and I feel like I've been stripped of that right due to the lack of education in the community. We're all taught not to judge a book by its cover, so why are we being judged?
When we saw the brief for this project, we had no idea what it entailed. Little did we know we'd be wearing stoma bags around our studios and standing in accessible toilets, awaiting a reaction from a member of the public from the other side. We challenged accessible signs on buses, in shopping centres, anywhere we could. We really lived and breathed this project. Let Us In is a campaign that acknowledges the 92% of the UK's disabled population that currently aren't represented by our accessible toilet signage.
A circle is a wholesome shape. It can symbolise a sense of gathering and community. As you can see, our circle has been broken up into segments. The gaps in the shape have been created to act as a doorway into the circle, the safe, accessible place, and into a new and understanding community. As well as the new sign itself, we developed a pattern from the symbol to be used alongside various aspects of the campaign. This would help to instill familiarity without the constant repetition of the sign, hopefully in time making the campaign and its aesthetics recognisable to everyone.
The internet is a powerful tool in which information can be shared by thousands within minutes and can become viral overnight. By taking the campaign online, we intend for the conversation to extend across our country and beyond.
Our main aim was to make sure that everyone has a safe place when using the toilet. We were influenced by the Sunflower Project, so our choice to make badges and lanyards was so that people felt like they were part of the community, the Let Us In community, without having the need to prove to those their reasoning for using the toilet. Both the badge and the lanyard feature our logo to show that this is a community and we want people to feel as comfortable as possible.